More now on our top story, and Israeli airstrikes on Gaza continued overnight, despite growing optimism that a peace deal could be reached soon. We've got some live pictures coming into us from the border, which shows there is smoke coming up from Gaza. Late on Saturday, Israel's Prime Minister said he hoped to announce the release of all remaining hostages in the coming days. Negotiators are converging on Cairo ahead of talks tomorrow aimed at ending nearly 2 years of war. Well, Dr. James Smith is an emergency doctor who spent 2.5 months in Gaza last year. He's now a lecturer in humanitarian studies at UCL and is regularly in touch with medics in the territory. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. What's your impression of what's happening on the ground at the moment while there's this optimism towards possible peace deals?
Well, as you've just reported, and as is always the case as negotiations get underway, Israel has intensified its violence throughout Gaza. We know that at least 70 Palestinians have been killed in the last 24 hours alone, most of them in Gaza City. The hospitals throughout Gaza are overwhelmed every single day by the continuous influx of injured and mortally wounded Palestinians from Israel's attacks. In the last week alone, Israel has continued to target our healthcare worker colleagues. Nurse Marwan Abdin was shot by an Israeli drone inside Nasser Hospital. MSF occupational therapist Omar Hayek killed while waiting for the bus to go to work. Nurse Tasneem Al-Hams kidnapped in Mawasi. The situation, as you describe, is as bad as it has been at the worst of the days over the course of the last 2 years.
So tell me, how is it going to affect the distribution of aid, for example, if there is a withdrawal to an initial line by the Israeli forces? Is that going to complicate, or is that going to make it easier for you to get aid to the right places?
Well, the short answer is, I mean, it is impossible really to navigate the distribution of humanitarian aid while the Israeli military remains in Gaza, while the Israeli military continues to occupy the Gaza Strip. So, of course, the withdrawal of Israeli troops and a complete cessation of Israel's attacks from air, sea, and the ground is absolutely necessary, such that there can be an upsurge in the delivery of humanitarian aid.
Because one of the points that the peace plan sets out is to do with that, isn't it? The kind of distribution is supposed to be without interference, and it'll be conducted through the UN and its agencies and the Red Crescent and so on. How critical do you think it'll be to have the Rafah crossing reopening for that?
It's essential. I mean, Israel has maintained complete control over humanitarian access as a core pillar of its genocide. Israel can have no role in the coordination and distribution of humanitarian aid. This must be managed independently through well-established and trusted humanitarian organizations, which of course must be led by Palestinian humanitarian organizations and Palestinian civil society, which is best placed to respond to those needs. But I must be clear that what we need to really emphasize here is that the genocide needs to stop. That's not something that can be subject to negotiation. Many of the terms of this 20-point plan are simply legal and political responsibilities that are incumbent on all states and Israel as an occupying power. The USA is presenting itself as a broker of peace, which frankly is perhaps the most absurd label that one could ascribe to the US state, given the violence and oppression that it has wrought worldwide, particularly in Palestine. What we need to be focused on now is ending Israel's ongoing violence and orientating towards the serious questions of accountability and justice. It's deeply concerning that very few are talking about the conditions of occupation, apartheid, and slow genocide that Israel continues to impose on Palestine and the Palestinian people. What does peace look like if we don't address these underlying foundational issues?
Dr. James Smith, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And just want to point out that Israel does deny that it's responsible for genocide in Gaza.